Okay, guys, so our first exercise today for Unit 3 is creating the first shape, which is drawing or figure 1.1. The first thing that you need to do is to make sure that the units are corresponding to the architectural inches. And this means that you need to do two things. You need to go to change this. You can do this from the A tab here. So you can click here and you can go to drawing utilities, and then you can go to units, or you can click units, or you can type units in the command line and hit enter on your keyboard after typing units, and then change the type to architectural, the precision to 1/4 of an inch, and the insertion scale to inches, and then hit OK. So that's the first thing that you need to do, is to set the drawing units so we can accomplish this using the inches measurement. Now, the second thing that we need to do is that we need to establish the first rectangle, which is a square that is 10 inch by 10 inch. We can do this a couple of ways. The easiest way is to click here and select rectangle. All right, so I'm going to click on rectangle, and then I'm going to click anywhere on my screen. I'm going to click, and then I'm going to drag. Now, when I click and drag, I put the first corner point, and then I drag from there, and then I can type 10 inches, and then click tab on my keyboard. So we already know that 10 inches is for the x-axis, and I'm going to hit tab on my keyboard, and then I'm going to type 10 inches for the y-axis. And then after that, I'm going to click on enter. All right. The second thing that we need to do is that we need to establish the diagonal lines inside. And to establish the diagonal lines inside, the only thing that we can do is that to select the line command. Now, before selecting the line command, we need to make sure that we activate the object snap, because we want to snap the first corner of the line to the corner of the square, and then we want to extend that to that opposite corner of the square. So to do that, we need to make sure that we pick the corner point. So we have to click on the object snap if it's not activated. We're going to right click on it. And when we right click on it, I need to turn off, if there is anything other than endpoint, I need you to turn it off right now by clicking on it, and then click on endpoint. All right. And from the endpoint, I'm going to click on line. So after picking the endpoint, we're going to click on the line command. Once I click on the line command and I hover over this corner, I'm just going to click, and then I'm going to drag, and then I'm going to click again. All right. Now we have, as we said, the line command is still active. So I'm just going to hit escape on my keyboard. All right. And I'm going to use a new line. Of course, we can use, we can right click and we can repeat line command, but this time we're going to use a new tool from the modify panel. All right. And to use that tool, I will need to activate, because I'm going to mirror or reflect another copy opposite side of this line using the mirror command from the modify tool. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to right click here. All right. And I'm going to select midpoint from here. I'm going to click on midpoint, and then I'm going to click on mirror. Now, when I click on mirror, the first thing that it's asking me here is to select the object that you want to create another mirror copy of it. So I'm just going to click on that line here, and then I'm going to click enter on my keyboard. Now it's going to ask me on the command line, as you can see, select the first point of mirror line. Whenever we're mirroring an object, we need to make sure that we're mirroring that object on a midpoint. Okay, so the object is going to be spaced exactly the same as its copy or original copy, but on the opposite side. That's why I selected the midpoint. So I want to make sure that the opposite side, or the copy, is going to be exactly distance from that point as its counterpart, which is the original from that point as well. So I'm just going to click here to specify the first point of mirror line. And then, as you can see, once I do that, I have a line that is exactly the exact copy, and it's asking me to select the second point of the mirror line. So this command actually requires you 2 points to be activated. 1 point here and then I'm going to move the cursor down, and I'm going to pick the midpoint again down on the opposite side. Now, after that, we're not really, finished yet. It's asking you, do you want to erase the source object? Now, the source object was this, but this time we want to create actually a copy of this on the opposite side. So I must actually say no. Okay, so I either type N here, okay, and hit enter, or I select no from here. And this will guarantee that I have the two sides, or the two diagonal lines spaced as I wanted them to be. So that's the mirror command. Very important to go through it again. And that's one of the commands that you will be working with a lot from the modify panel. Now, the second thing that we need to do is to create this, the circle with a radius of 4 inches. And to do that, I will need to activate, I need to make sure that this is going to be my center point, and then I'm going to have a radius of 4 inches. So I'm just going to go again to my object snap. I'm going to right click on it. And instead of endpoint, I'm just going to remove the endpoint and remove the midpoint. I'm just going to aim for two things. It's either geometric center or intersection. Okay, so I'm just going to go with the intersection for now, because I'm going to also need that for the polygon, which is the other polygon inside. So I'm just going to click on the intersection here. All right, and I'm going to go and select the circle command. Now the circle command here, all right, is going to ask me for the center point. Since we already selected from the object snap the center point, or again, that's what we selected. We selected intersection. Then I know that my circle is going to pick the intersection between the diagonal lines. So I'm just going to click here, and then I'm going to drag to the side. When I click and drag to the side, I need to type 4 inches on my keyboard for the radius and hit enter. The second thing after that we need to do is to create this polygon, all right, which have 8 sides. Now to do that, we can click here on the rectangle, the drop down arrow, and then click on the polygon. And when I do that, I can hover over here. Now you can see that when I hover over here, I didn't enter the number of sides. The first thing that I need to do after clicking and selecting the polygon is to type the number of sides. The number of sides is 8, and click enter. Now I can hover over this point, and now I can specify this as the center for my polygon. Okay, so I'm just going to click. And once I click here and selecting this as the center, I need this to be inscribed in a circle. So I'm just going to click here and drag. All right, and now it's asking me to specify. So see where I'm dragging my line. I'm hovering over this side here because I need that to be aligned this way. And I'm going to type the radius of the circle that it's asking me in the command line. So I'm going to type 4 inches on my keyboard and enter. Okay, immediately that polygon is inside of the circle. The final thing is we need to actually connect points from the midpoint of the polygon to the midpoint of those line, and we need 4 copies of that. So we need to activate something that's going to pick from the midpoint here to the midpoint here. And to do this, we're going to right click, and I'm going to click here on midpoint. I'm just going to make sure that intersection is not activated, and I'm going to also click on perpendicular. So perpendicular and midpoint are definitely going to help me to establish those lines. Okay, so I'm just going to click here, and again, I'm click on line, and I'm going to hover over this side here on the segment for the polygon. I'm going to click, and then I'm going to drag up till I reach this point here, which is also the midpoint of the side of the square. Now, once I do that, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to hit enter or press escape on your keyboard to end the command. Now we can see that we do have, a little bit of a problem here, because originally I wanted this to start from a tangent point on the circle up to here, as you can see from this drawing. So how to do this? We have a couple of ways we can do this. The first thing is that we can use a command here in the modify panel called the trim command. And when I click on the trim command here, and it's going to ask me to select object to trim. Okay, so the object, the part that I want to trim, I'm just going to zoom in with the middle mouse wheel. Okay, and when I zoom in with the middle mouse wheel, I can actually pick this part. Once I hover over the part that I want to eliminate, it's going to display this red X, meaning is that this is a part that is going to be removed. So I'm just going to click here. All right, I'm going to click escape on my keyboard, and I completed the trim. Now that's one of the ways that you can do that, one of the methods. If I hit Control Z, all right, another thing, if I didn't want to use trim, I'm just going to click on the line itself. And then you can see when we click on the line and it turns to blue, we can actually click on one of those node points. We're going to click on it and we're going to move it upward. So I'm going to click on it. Once you click on it, it's becoming red, and then you can move it upward. And because we activated the perpendicular snapping, now we can snap to the tangent on the circle circumference, and we can click here and place that without having to trim or using the trim command. Okay, to make sure that the line is not selected or no longer selected, we can click on escape on our keyboard. Okay, now we need to have 3 copies of this line here. And to do this, we can still use the mirror command. So I'm just going to right click here on the object snap. And this time I want the intersection command snapping to be turned on. I need perpendicular to be turned off, and I need midpoint to be turned on. So because I'm basically going to mirror this on this line here. All right, so this is what we will going to be doing, selecting endpoint, selecting intersection, and we're going to use the mirror command again. I'm going to click on mirror. All right, I'm going to select this object. I'm going to click enter on my keyboard, and then I'm going to click here. And once I click here, you can see that I have the line activated with me, and then I'm going to move to the side here. Once I move to the side, move my cursor to the side, I'm going to hover over the midpoint here on this line. I'm going to click. Do I want to erase objects? Actually, no, I don't want to erase the objects. I actually want a copy of it. Okay, so the other thing that we will be doing is that we're going to click on mirror again. All right, and this time I'm mirroring those two on the side. So I'm just going to click here. I'm going to click here to select those objects. I'm going to click enter on my keyboard, and I'm going to click here. And this time I'm moving the line or moving my cursor to this point here. So I'm just going to move here. Now you can see that because I have 2 objects, I might need the corner point. In case you didn't select, the corner point, which is here, okay, we can definitely rely on the fact that this point or the corner point or the intersection point is going to be selected. So if I click and drag until I find that intersection point, this is where I want to place my final point. So I'm just going to click. And do I want to erase source objects? No, I do not want to erase the source object. So it is not a big deal. If you want to actually create those using the line command, it's up to you, but we just have to learn new tools. So we learned the mirror tool, and we learned the trim tool, and we also learned how we can extend the object by just clicking on them and clicking on the node points, okay, and moving them where we want them to be.